Well, good morning, and thank you so much for that kind welcome. I do need to correct one of the things that Scott said. He indicated I played football at Baylor. That's a relative term. I was fortunate a few years ago to get an alumni award, and they brought me back for the homecoming game at Baylor and presented me with an alumni award. I have a fellow I played football with at Baylor who's now on the Board of Trustees. He thought it'd be neat to nominate me for Public Servant of the Year. They brought me back. Halftime of the homecoming game, they presented us with our awards. I told people after the fact I spent more time on the playing surface during that award ceremony than I did the entire time I was on the football team at Baylor. So, I want to be clear that we tell the truth here today and be candid with you. I want to talk about two things today, and I hope I'm not long-winded, but I do have a lot to say. When you talk about Mississippi Economic Council, obviously you assume that has to do with economic development. What are some things that make us economically prosperous? One of those things is education, and I am proud to say that over the last 5 years, since Republicans have been in control, we have worked very hard to improve educational accomplishments, educational achievements. And I asked my staff to put together a list of some of the things, and I was a little taken aback even when I saw the list of things. Over the last 5 years, we passed the third grade reading gate, which they say has had the most impact on education of any policy that has been passed in recent memory. We've changed the grading system for schools so that parents can know whether their district is an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. We passed the Early Learning Collaborative, Dyslexia Therapy Scholarship, Speech Language Therapy Scholarship, charter schools, special needs ESA, Teacher Pay Raise Act, which Scott mentioned. We've increased the funding of the Teacher Supply Fund, moved to appointed superintendents, increased funding to a level that is historically the highest in the history of our state last year. The list goes on and on. I think it can be said we've made a commitment to improving education, and we're doing more. As you know, this year we're exploring a rewrite of the formula. Why? Because we want to make sure the money gets to the students. We want to make sure the money reaches the intended destination, and that is putting money in the classroom so that our students can achieve even more. We put $50 million into workforce development for our community colleges in an attempt to train people, prepare them for jobs. So I want it to be clear, we've made a commitment. We feel very proud of this list of accomplishments. We think we're doing a good job of moving this state towards a better educational system so that we can prepare that workforce and people can be prepared to enter the workforce and our state can experience economic prosperity. The second thing I want to talk about today is what has been stated as the number one issue of this organization this year, and that's infrastructure. That's roads and bridges. And I want to talk about that for just a few minutes. I know there's been a lot of discussion about that, a lot of concern about that. There's a lot of talk in the halls about that. I saw a quote in the paper recently by one of the lobbyists who said that one of the problems with this is there's been no leadership from the governor, or the lieutenant governor, or the speaker on this issue. I know it's true because it was in the paper. But that was the quote. I'm going to be really transparent about this. Those of you who know me know that I like to shuck the corn. I don't like to play games. So I'm going to be transparent with you here today. This is a difficult issue, and finding a solution is a difficult problem. I see a number of questions that need to be answered when we talk about this issue. First of all, what is the need? What is the extent of the need? I've seen a lot of studies that show the number of bridges and roads that need to be repaired. We need to come to some agreement and find out what the extent of that need is. We've got to ask ourselves, is there enough money within existing revenues to meet that need? Can we find further efficiencies in MDOT? Can we find further efficiencies in state government to take money and put over there? Then, once you establish what that need is, you got to ask yourselves, what are the solutions that are available? There are a number of solutions. We can appropriate more money. We can raise a tax. We can bond. The federal government has said they want to put more money, or I say the federal government, Donald Trump, President-elect, has said he wants to make that one of his #1 issues. I hope we see some revenue coming in. Now, the only solutions that I've been presented with, even by this organization, involve taxes and fees. I don't know how many of you know this, but you need to understand that in the House of Representatives, to pass any bill that involves a tax or a fee requires 74 votes. It's not a simple majority. It is what we call a supermajority. And no one who has presented me with a plan has come to me and said, I got 74 votes for my plan. So you can see the difficulty that exists here in reaching a solution for this issue. Now, the people of this state have elected conservatives, and they have continued to elect conservatives with every election cycle. In 1988, I think my number's right, out of 122 members in the House of Representatives, there were 6 Republicans. Today, there's 74. With each election cycle, there's been a continuous march toward conservative government, toward conservative leadership. And the people of the state have continued to elect those. Actually, we've seen those numbers increase with every election. And these are legislators that many of you, if not most of you, have supported. These are legislators who have campaigned upon smaller government. They have stood for lower taxes. They have stood for creating a business-friendly environment. They have reduced tax burdens. Last year, we reduced the franchise tax. There was great praise about that. Many of you have supported such measures. You have supported that. We have lived within our means. We have $300 million in the bank. Our sister states are running deficits. We've had very conservative leadership over the last 5 years to keep ourselves within our means, to reduce debt, and to stay conservative. And all of these are things that you have supported. And all of these are things that have led to economic prosperity. We have stood in the gap on tort reform. We have stood and made sure that the tort reform we passed 10 years ago has stayed strong, which has again created a strong business environment. So when the only plans that we get involve taxes and fees, you can see what a difficult lift that is. You can see how it's difficult to get a coalition together to vote for things like that. I'm going to give you an example of my district. I met recently with some constituents of mine. They presented me with their list of budget items for the year. Not budget items, agenda items for the year. Improvements in education, improvements in infrastructure, workforce development. There were 27 things they wanted. I counted them. All right, I'll go up there and champion 27 things. And the last thing they said to me was, we want all this done, but don't raise a tax. We don't want you raising taxes. You see the difficulty that exists. So let me be clear on where I'm at on this. I'm here to tell you that I'm personally engaging on this issue. It will never be said that Philip Gunn did not take this issue seriously. Within the last week, I have met with opponents to doing anything about roads and bridges. I have met with proponents about doing things for roads and bridges. I have met with MDOT on multiple occasions, and I'm searching for efficiencies within that organization. I've asked them to find $50 million in savings. Haven't seen that yet. Hopefully I will get that. They have presented me with their budget, how they spend their dollars. I'm pouring through that. I've got members pouring through that, trying to find efficiencies with MDOT. I've met with the Truckers Association. I have met with Mr. Joe Sanderson, who is one of the vocal proponents of this organization. I have met with the leaders of your organization. I have met with I'm meeting with the truckers. I met with the truckers yesterday. I see Hal back there. I'm meeting with the road builders after this. I'm going to meet with the petroleum marketers. I'm meeting with everybody who is expressed or is affected by this issue. And I'm going to personally engage on this. I am personally going to step out and I'm going to search for a solution. I don't know what that solution is yet, but we're looking. And I'm here today to tell you that it will not be said that Philip Gunn did not work on this issue. I'm going to make sure that we explore every option and every opportunity, and we're going to do the best we can to find a way to meet the issue about roads and bridges. And if we can't do it this year, we're going to keep working until we are able to do that in the years to come. But I want you to know that we're going to do everything on our end that we can to make sure that we find this solution. I'm going to make calls to Senator Cochran and Senator Wicker to see what help we can get from the federal government. I'm going to engage on this issue, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not just going to give you lip service. I'm not making any promises to you other than Philip Gunn will engage on trying to find a solution to this problem. Thank you so much for letting me be with you here today.